Okay, so all the song, it was really cool. This is one of those nights where all the worship songs that we did were like exactly what I think we were supposed to talk about today. And I think you guys will catch it as we go through, and maybe we'll even do that leaning song at the end. I think it'll maybe have a little bit more meaning afterwards. But I want to start off and share just like a little bit of a moment I had a couple weeks ago, and it was actually with all of you guys, where it was the Monday of the eclipse. What was that, like 2 weeks ago? Yeah, roughly. And I was really blown away. You know, I wasn't like planning on making it like an experience. I didn't drive anywhere. I didn't have the special glasses. I didn't really see anything other than it got just a little bit colder. And then we had this group text going out, and everybody was sending pictures, and the people who had even like the screens for their phones so that you could actually see the eclipse. And as we were going through it, I was just really struck by how just huge God is. And just like in awe. Like, it was one of those moments where sometimes there's just natural events that occur, and it just makes you feel really, really small. And was able to just back up for a second and say, my gosh, Lord, you're so faithful, you're so steady. There's so many things that like I don't even think about, that you're just totally in control of. That there, as far as even the rotation of our moon to things like gravity, it's like you hold it all together, you make it all happen, and we don't like think twice about it. And yet here, like, little me has this problem, and I can't even see like your sovereignty in the midst of it. It's like you're this huge, like, massive God just holding every single thing together. And think about it for a second. Like, when was the last time you woke up in the morning and you thought, I wonder if gravity's gonna be there? I wonder if gravity is gonna be there. That's not something we think about. You're so sure it's just gonna be there, right? In probably more ways than we would like it to be sometimes, or we and or just certain things. Like, I don't wake up anxious in the morning thinking, oh gosh, is the sun gonna come out today? It just does, every single time. Yet his control, his sovereignty, his goodness is more sure than those things, isn't it? We can have more trust in him being God and him being good and him being faithful than we can trust in gravity itself. Yet if I had to ask you the same question, when was the last time you doubted his faithfulness and his sovereignty? I bet you can think of more times than you'd like to admit today. Where it's like you just didn't embrace what you were going through in light of that. And I want to start off by having a bit of a discussion with you guys, and tell me a time like that. You know, like I just shared one a couple weeks ago with the eclipse where I could just see how big he was. Or remember, we've even shared that story of Mariah Woodworth-Etter, where she had somebody with a gun pointed to her, and her reality of who God was so much bigger than the gun that was pointed in her face. And that's pretty amazing, don't you think? I mean, don't you want to be that way? I want you to think of a time where you had a moment like that. I'd like to hear quite a few different comments for you, because I want you to get in touch with it. Like, when was that time where maybe you were even humbled a little bit, where you were freaking out about something or fighting to be in control of something, and then all of a sudden it was like you hit God like a brick wall. And you just realized, like, despite all the control you were trying to exert, you just saw, my gosh, Lord, you didn't forget about this. Just because I didn't have all the information doesn't mean you weren't in control of it. You weren't out for my good. And I can just think of so many moments where I was really worried about something, and then all of a sudden you find out, like, you were there the whole time. Your goodness, your plan, it prevailed. And gosh, I wish I could go backwards and get back all that wasted time that I spent in my mind worrying about this stuff, and instead had as much trust in you as I trust in things like the sun coming out in the morning or gravity being there for me. I just hear a couple comments. Dana?
For me, it would have been last summer. I was going through a real difficult time, losing a lot of assistants, and it was things were kind of falling apart at work, and there was this constant thing that loomed over me. That vice president's going to come in now. Finally, he's going to come in now, and there's going to be this visit and all these things, and you know, we got through that, and then it was the holidays. He's going to be here now. He's going to be here now. He never came. And finally, it just had gotten to that point where I just, you know, I got sick and tired of being fearful of man, and just, you know, I'm just not going to do that anymore, and just kind of, you know, went through a prayer of deliverance to but to succeed and not being that way again to a large degree.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was about a year ago, and then it was like, okay, I got through that, and, you know, the other last week, all of a sudden, I heard, you know, the vice president's been moved. He's been moved out of Chicagoland. He's now the president of a company or a thing out east, and you know, there were many times where he was right in the area, and there was one time where he actually visited every store around my store. There was times he went right by my store. There were times and all these things, and had I known now how much time was wasted during that whole time, and really God was in many ways, I think, moving him off to the side. Was not going to have him come. There was a reason that God felt there was enough purpose in what he did in my life without having to bring him here to actually shame me or have one of those kind of days at work. And it made me think back now, wow, had I known a year ago, and God knew a year ago, God already said, I got this.
Yeah.
I've got this. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be filled with anxiety. It did what it needed to do in me, and I'm glad for it. But it just made me realize, you know, that one line where it says the earth, something may rant and rave, and the earth may shake or something, but God will, it'll be, you know, and I forgot what it's.
The world will do as the Lord says.
But the Lord, yeah, but it'll do a thing, and he's like, but if you seek me first, I will take care of those things. And so it really showed me how big it was. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, like Phil has said to me, he goes, you're still where you're at, and he's not. So, you know, God can move even the vice presidents. He can move presidents. He can do all those things, and he really is the God that you can count on. And even if he did show, it would be for something else. But God was always looking out for me during that difficult time, and I know now that he was in all those places. And if it weren't for him, I would not have made it through. And it was like, I got it. And just learning that God has it. He's just got it.
Yeah.
So.
Good. How about someone else? That's exactly what I was looking for. Perry?
I just think the thing that came to my mind right away was, You know, my brother was a poster child for walking away from the Lord, a long time ago, and I remember him telling me that he was going to save my brother, and then, and I remember I got a phone call one night, and somebody, one of his friends, he was enumerating. I think I've said this before, but he was enumerating all the times that no one had seen my brother for 10 days, and I really got filled with fear and went out on my deck and just had a moment with God and said, but you told me that you were going to save him, and so it ended up, that night ended up in an intervention, with 9 of his closest friends and myself, and getting him into the hospital for alcohol addiction. And but the God always had a plan, and the plan led to him coming up to Wakanda and being with me, and me being able to see. I mean, he's so faithful to what he said to me, and and I doubted. It's a place where I go and I doubt, and how is this going to happen? And then here it happens, and you say, wow, how faithful. I need to be more faithful in trusting in you, Lord. And so it was a powerful experience for me.
Cool. How about someone else? Javier? Yeah, you can pass it.
The first thing that came to my mind, because it's involved every single one of us, is when the Rising Church came here. And just like they avenged, like trying to destroy everything, trying to give the building back to them. And it's just saying God was faithful. I mean, we're still here. And that was the first example.
Cool.
Came to my mind.
Anyone else? Joe?
I have two. One was, I don't know if I can taste two, but anyway.
Sure.
One was 1998, where we had decided to move to a bigger place to live, and we had 2 little kids sharing a bedroom, and put our house up for sale and put money down on another townhouse, and we just couldn't sell our house, and there was a lot of doubt and fear between us, like looking at each other like, what did we do? And I went to bed at night and just got on my knees and was just praying to God, and I just said, I give up. Just prayed, I give up. I've done everything, I've tried everything, can't sell this place. I said, I thought this is what you wanted, and I give up. And I'm, sorry for trying to do all this, and it looked like we're gonna have to back out of the townhouse we were buying that had a bedroom for each kid and all that. And the next morning, like early, I mean like 7:45, 8 o'clock, there was a car in our driveway wanting to buy the townhome, and there was a realtor calling saying, someone wants to come look at your house now. And I'm like, are they in our driveway by chance? She says, they are. And they bought it for cash, and like, how quickly can you get out?
Yeah.
So,
The day that we had it the messiest.
Cool.
It was messy.
and it was messy,
We always had it clean and
Yeah.
candles lit.
because we had kind of given up, so it wasn't as clean. We were just shoving stuff in closets, sweeping
Yeah.
stuff under the rug, and so that's the first one.
Cool.
And then the second one was with, a year ago, getting let go or eliminated or whatever you want to call it from my job, and then just just the situation I got in now is just, well, nothing's perfect, but it's a lot better. I mean, I used to work for people that were like, you know, just had their foot on the throttle, smash, go, 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 work, 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 work. You know, work late, work weekends. You know, if you finish something at 4:30 on a Friday, they're like, well, we got a half hour. What can we start now? You know, just, and my new boss is like, you know, I do what I have to do, but the end of the day comes, I'm done. And you better be too. You know, I don't want to see you logging on a weekend. And he's like, I got kids, I got a life. You know, I'm not busting my butt for promotion. They want to promote me, good, but I don't need one. You know, and the other people I used to work for, complete opposite. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, how everything would change if you just had that attitude of, you know what, I may not have all the information right now, but that doesn't mean God doesn't have it.
right.
He's not in control taking me where I need to be right now. Yeah,
And this was the job I didn't really think I should apply for.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Tends to be how it goes.
yeah.
Okay, just in light of some of those stories, I got a couple scriptures here. And I'm going to go really quick through them. You're probably not going to have time to write them down. I can give them to you later. So, first one we have, this is a Lamentations 3:22. It says, "Oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him." Here's Hebrews 10:23. "The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercy never come to an end. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness." Here we have 2 Timothy 2:13. "Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful." Here's Numbers 23:19. "If we are faithless, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself." That's pretty powerful, isn't it?
Wow.
Here's Exodus 34:6. "God is not man that he should lie, or a son of man that he should change his mind. He has said and will not do it. Or has he spoken and will he not fulfill it?" Here's another one. "The Lord passes before him and proclaim, the Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger and abounding in steadfast love and faithfulness." Here's Psalm 36. This is the whole psalm, but I think it's really powerful. "Transgression speaks to the wicked, deep in his heart. There is no fear of God before his eyes, for he flatters himself in his own eyes, that his iniquity cannot be found out and hated. The words of his mouth are trouble and deceit. He has ceased to act wisely and do good. He plots trouble while on his bed. He sets himself in a way that is not good. He does not reject evil." And this is verse 5. It says, "Your steadfast love, O Lord, extends to the heavens, your faithfulness to the clouds. Your righteousness is like the mountains of God, and your judgment are like the great deep. Man and beast you save, O Lord. How precious is your steadfast love, O God. The children of mankind take refuge in the shadow of your wings. They feast on the abundance of your house, and you give them drink from the rivers of your delights. For with you is the fountain of life. In your light do we see light. O continue your steadfast love to those who know you, and your righteousness to the upright of heart. Let not the foot of arrogance come upon me, nor the hand of the wicked drive me away. There the evildoers lie fallen. They are thrust down and unable to rise." So, one of the things that's really been on my mind, I gave you guys a little bit of like a sneak peek on Thursday, but it's been so powerful because I had a moment where I just had like an epiphany. I think I was like trimming brisket or something like that. That's where a lot of my moments come from, is when I'm doing some sort of like task I've done 100 times where I just don't have to think about it anymore, and I just fall into this meditative state. And there was a lot that I was contending with spiritually, and a lot of attitudes that just wanted my mind to go 100 different directions. And this thing like really struck me, where I started to look at my circumstances and was just like, Lord, right now in the midst of what I'm feeling, what the circumstances I'm facing, decisions that I need to make, what does it look like if I just lean on your faithfulness right now? And just really, really press in and take a step back for a second and just realize, how many times in a day do I divide from you? Because there's something that's pressing on me to change my outlook of you. And think about whatever your story was that you shared, because we've had these moments where you realize, you're so big, God, and I'm so small. I have no idea what's going on. I don't know how circumstances are going to unfold. I can't find a way to be in control of them. I can't make things happen the way that I want them to happen. And yet we keep trying somehow. And it was like he showed me, like, what would it look like if every single time there's a struggle or a circumstance that you're facing, if you just leaned on his faithfulness. And you're in that place where, Lord, right now, in this circumstance, I can't see how you're going to make this come together. I have no idea how good can come from it. I have no idea how it's going to work out, if it's going to work out. And from that place, like, what's the thing that you do, like, by nature? You start figuring it out. You start sorting through it. We start rising up in our own, like, soulish power to manage it, to control it. And in this moment, like, I could feel this pressure on me, like, wanting to give me a reason. And typically that's how intercession works, by the way. Or if you're dealing with something spiritually, is I've been doing this long enough to realize, like, don't grab a hold of a reason. Because sometimes when there's a really strong pressure to feel afraid, to be depressed about something, or to be jealous or fearful, or, whatever it is, all you got to do is just own a reason. And now there's a door into your heart for those things to rule you. And it's like, that's the first thing that everybody does by nature, because we have this assumption everything I feel is true. But how many of you found out that's a lie? It's not the case, is it? And there's a totally different way that we can deal with it. And it's been so powerful, because in this moment, it's like I could feel this pressure coming in. Like, Mike, just grab a hold of one reason. Like, here, you could be upset about this right now, or you could be upset about that, or you could take that personal, or you could look at these circumstances. And it's just like, well, no. It's just the Spirit. It's just a pressure that's pushing in. And there's one thing that I know right now, and that's that, Lord, you're faithful and you're good. And in the face of great pressure, I can just say, you know what? I don't need to know the end of the story to know that that's true. I don't need more information to connect with that. And I'm not talking about like just getting to a place in your mind, where, God is sovereign, God is good, and you get a command of your mind. I'm saying like your whole outlook. You get to this place where you lean in so much so on his faithfulness that it starts dictating how you look at everything, how you see the person in front of you, how you see your circumstances, and then every pressure, every struggle, every issue, it just like totally fades away. It's been a really powerful way to do warfare because the last couple weeks has been particularly challenging spiritually. There's been a lot that's been coming to the surface, particularly with these teachings that Phil and Colleen have been doing on the spirit of lies. Like that thing has really, really been exposed lately, and I feel like God is just like dug deep inside of everybody's heart, pulling up traumas, pulling up just like open doors from the past. And how does that manifest? It manifests in things being hard spiritually in the beginning. It's when something's being exposed, it doesn't always feel good right away. So the spirit has just been really, really stirred up lately. I think really wanting everybody to just find something to grab a hold of. And there's people who have been successful at it, and there's people who just still have that attitude that just because I feel it, it's true. So you feel a feeling of heaviness, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, well, why in the world would I be feeling that way? And then you come up with 100 different reasons of why you have the right to be depressed. It's a really like seductive cycle. And then you get stuck in this place sometimes of like, I'm going to say even like starting to enjoy feeling bad for yourself because you just sit in it and you just start going through just all the reasons that you have, but there's another way. And this has been just really powerful in breaking through. And one of these scriptures, I didn't even read this one. This is Psalm 91, verse 4. It says, he'll cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and a buckler. And I've felt that way the last couple weeks. It's like, Lord, your faithfulness is my shield. It doesn't matter what's in front of me, what kind of warfare we're dealing with, what kind of circumstances seem to be unfolding. It doesn't matter if I know the end of the story. It doesn't matter if I'm in control. It doesn't matter if I have all the information or I don't have all the information, because it's enough for me to just know that you're faithful. And I mean really know. Like if in your heart of hearts you give yourself over to that, it puts you in this place where all of a sudden I don't have to worry about anything anymore. I don't have to stress. I don't have to fight to be in control of my circumstances because, Lord, you're sovereign. I don't wake up in the morning wondering if you forgot to be in control of gravity. I'm just going to float away. I don't wake up worrying, are you going to have the sun rise again today? Am I going to be warm today? Is there going to be oxygen in the air for me to grab a hold of? Like, that's a reality that we don't think about. It's just assumed. But his faithfulness is a bigger reality than those things. And you can use it as a shield. Something that you can put right in front of you where you're having an issue at work, or there's a circumstance that is happening to someone that you care about and you have no idea how it's going to work out. You can just let go. You can just say, Lord, right now, my shield, the thing that's protecting me, it's your faithfulness. And that's why I played that song at the end of worship of just like, I'm going to lean into this right now. And that's been my intercession. Every single time something comes up, it's just like, no, Lord, I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to think through it. I don't have to even come up with a plan, because you're so good. You're so faithful. I know you can't stop thinking about what's best for me. Like, it's not even in his nature to stop thinking about what's best for you. He's always considerate, always kind, always thinking about what you really need. That doesn't mean he's always going to give us everything we want. But he's always has our interest in mind, is always taking care of us. And imagine if you put that up as like a shield. Lord, this is what I'm going to lean into right now. Kind of reminded me a little bit of that message that Phil and Colleen gave a long time ago about David and talking about God being that strong tower. It's really powerful. And it's something that we can really easily do to protect ourselves so we don't just keep falling into the same traps. And again, we're not talking about puffing yourself up. We're not talking about using your intellect to go through all these things of saying, I'm really worried about this, but I'm sure you'll do this, and I'm sure this is going to happen, and I'm sure. No, we're not sure of any of those things. The only thing that we're sure of is, God, you're faithful. You're faithful. I can't see how you're going to unfold your faithfulness. I can't see how you're going to use these circumstances to cause me to become the person that you want me to be, but it's an absolute. I know it's the case. And too often do we allow circumstances or just a spirit perception to cause us to divide from him by doubting his faithfulness rather than leaning into it. And there's a way that we can let go of control by just saying, Lord, I don't need to come up with scenarios of how your goodness could be unfolding. It's just an absolute, like gravity. I know it's the case. And I don't want to make an assumption that it's not the case. Why? Because I don't have all the information? Because I don't know how the story ends? I mean, it's kind of silly when you think about it. Like, if we were objective in whatever we were going through, it's like, okay, God, 500 billion, me, 0. Every single time. He never lets us down. He always tells us everything that we need to know. Yet, even though that's the case, when you have a problem, is he the first one that you go to? Or is it your brain? We trust in gravity. We trust the sun's going to be there, but we don't really lean into his faithfulness. You don't assume that he's for you as an absolute. See, when we're in things that make us afraid, it should just lead us to a place of, well, clearly I don't have all the information. Like, that should be the only like synopsis of our, I just don't have all the information, because if I did, I would know God's faithfulness. I would see his goodness. But because I can't see it, it shouldn't provoke me to go to a soulish place trying to exert control. And it shouldn't provoke me to doubt him. It should just bring me to the conclusion that I don't have all the information. And like step 2, accepting that you don't have all the information and letting that be enough. I mean, seriously, I bet you could make a list, if you really thought about it, of 100 things this week where you could have just let go and just said, Lord, I don't need to know how this circumstance is going to end to know that you're for me. And can you think about the kind of confidence? No wonder Mariah Woodworth-Etter was able to stand with someone pointing a gun to her face, and that didn't make her doubt how faithful he was. It caused that man to have an encounter with God. That's really powerful. It's a shield. It's something that all you got to do is just hold it up right in front of you and just say, Lord, I'm worried about this. I'm concerned, or there's something that wants me to feel kind of down or kind of whatever that you're dealing with. But at the end of the day, I know you're good. I know you're faithful, and I'm just going to lean into it. I'm just going to keep holding up that shield until you reveal your faithfulness, and I'm excited to see how that's going to happen. So I don't need you to give me all the information right now. I don't need you to work it out for me, because I know you're in control. And oftentimes we insist on that. I'll be at peace as long as you tell me exactly how this is going to unfold and what's going to happen. But we don't need to know. We don't need to check in on him. We don't need to wonder if he's really going to follow through. I think it changes everything, particularly when it comes to dealing with a spirit of lies. So it wants you to go 100 different directions and overthink things and have a perspective of God. And do you realize that's all it takes? Just to get you to a place where you start to doubt your relationship with God in the way that he embraces you or the way that he's out for your good. That's all it takes. And then we believe it, and it might not be a thought in your head, but it's an attitude. And you divide from him because there's a little bit of pressure. I think we can be somebody who has a very strong faith where God can put us in even some really devastating circumstances and just say, Lord, I'm really suffering right now. I'm really going through some hardships. I don't know why I'm in so much pain. I don't know why I'm being attacked. I don't know why all these things are happening the way that they're happening, but I know you're faithful. I know you're going to use this to accomplish something. So I'm just going to let you do it. I don't need you to explain it to me. It would be nice if you would, but I don't need you to. Sometimes he does. Sometimes we just got to go for the ride, knowing that he never drops the ball. He never forgets. He doesn't have to sleep. He doesn't let his guard down. He doesn't lose sight of his sovereignty. He doesn't know how to be anything else. It's not in his nature to be anything else. Think about a struggle that you had this week and what would have happened if, when you're trying to figure out, did I do the right thing? Did I do the wrong thing? Did this really happen the way it was supposed to happen? Oh my gosh, how's this going to unfold? Where's it going to go? I don't know. What are these circumstances? What's that person thinking right now? Why do I have this position instead of that position? What if you just put it up? Lord, you're good. And you're faithful and you're for me. So how about we just let things unfold? I don't have to go there. I can just lean on in. That's why that song just struck me. We're leaning. Whatever it is. I'm not going to allow the pressure from whatever cause me to divide from him. In that moment, I'm trimming brisket, and I just had this like strong conviction, like, Lord, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for all the times that I allowed the pressure to cause me to divide from you. I mean, how many times in a day do you do that? Where just any perception that's false to the truth, any circumstance that you can't see the end of, it's just like immediately we just divide from you and go into, I got to figure this out. I got to rein this one in. I got to be in control of it. It's like, my gosh, Lord, I divide from you like more than I would really like to admit. Just immediately. Spend an hour or two having a prayer time, worshiping you and how big you are and how amazing you are and how much you really have loved my life, and the 50 examples that I can think of how you've been just completely faithful all the time, and then a problem comes on and it's like, hang on, God, I'm going to have to figure this out because bad things are going to happen. And like the end of the sentence is that we don't say in our minds, or maybe you do sometimes, because I know you're not going to do anything. And that's not right. I'd like to have as much trust in his faithfulness as I do that gravity is going to be here tomorrow. Like, it's that much of a reality of like, you know what? Yeah, that's a hard circumstance, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, but I'm just going to lean in. It's all I can do right now. I'm just going to lean in, and then let's see how it ends. Let's see what happens here. It's like this shield. That's what the psalm said. It's a shield. Like, what can touch you? And I think it's also really convicting, too, because it's like, wow, the littlest thing causes us to divide from him. Stop looking at him appropriately, and oftentimes then God feels really, really far away, and we say, oh, God, why are you so far away from me? And God's standing there, well, I'm not the one who created the separation here. You pushed me away by your own attitude. By all the ways that you decided I wasn't for you, and the ways you just took control. We put him out there. He's bent. He wants to be close to us all the time. The littlest thing comes up, and all of a sudden we just like lose sight. We just like immediately divide. I think it's a really good intercession tool, or a good way to deal with your own process, or just different problems that you're working through. No, Lord, I'm just going to lean on in right now. We're going to lean in on your faithfulness, and I'm going to walk, I'm going to pray, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to worship until it's not just something in my mind, but my attitude is so aware of your faithfulness, that's all I can see. You've had those days where you really create a connection with God, and then all of a sudden it's like everything you see just reminds you of him and how big he is. Everything you see. Oh, that's not a big deal. I know. He's in control. Let me just do what he's asking of me right now. And then something happens, and we divide. We doubt. Can I just hear a couple comments about what we talked about tonight? Joe?
I think I sunk. Like when you were saying problems arise or something, and like instead of going to God right away, you would, I got this. Or I think subconsciously I rank a problem,
Yeah.
like a little problem.
Mhm.
Pops up like, I got this. But when a big one comes, it's like, hey God, this is yours.
Yeah. Yeah. How about someone else? Javier?
I just really like when you say use his faithfulness as our shield. That is so powerful. It's like how many times I don't do that. It's just like, the problem came, it's just like, is God gonna like do something about it? And it's just like, even though we don't dare to say God will never like leave me like in the desert. We think that God is going to be faithful always, but we are so scared. We are so like, how God is going to do that? But it's just like that is going to take us from so many bad situations. Where if I put His faithfulness as my shield, it's like what Dad and I have been talking. Just focus on Him. And just keep your eyes focused on Him, and just like,
Yeah.
okay, His faithfulness as my shield. I like that, and I like the other thing that you say is that His faithfulness is more real than the gravity, and it's gonna be there every day, and it's more real than the sun. And it's more likely than the sun is gonna fall from the sky tomorrow than His faithfulness. It's gonna be like. It's not going to be there.
Yeah.
I don't think that. It's just like, it's more likely than the sun is going to show up tomorrow than God is going to do something for my problem. And that's kind of sick.
Yeah.
And
A day will come when the sun's not there anymore.
yeah.
But even in the midst of that day, his faithfulness will still be there forever.
It's just like it really like make you look inside and say like, wow, that's really sick. Because like how many times I doubt of like your words, and I doubt the things that you've been speaking either to me or
Just because I don't understand.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the points is I don't need understanding as a prerequisite to seeing your faithfulness. Like I think real maturity is being in that place of just saying, Lord, I don't understand how your faithfulness is in this circumstance, but that shouldn't make me doubt it, because that's an absolute. It should just tell me I don't have enough information. I think that's really a mature way of looking at life, don't you think? Like in the face of great pressure, just say, no, this is an absolute. Like to set our minds in that place, like this is an unchangeable thing. There's no circumstance, there's nothing that could ever happen that will make that change. This is an absolute every single time. So how about I just lean into that until it's actually a reality inside of my heart? And that doesn't mean our life's going to just be perfect every time. Things are always going to happen the way we want it to happen, but it does mean that he has our well-being in mind, and he's going to carry out his purposes whether we see it or not, and they're good. whether we can see how it's good. It's just like an absolute. We have enough evidence to know that. That's why I started with that scripture, like, taste and see that the Lord is good. You've already tasted, and you've already seen that he's good. Do we need to keep revisiting that one? I don't think so. I think we can pretty safely just say, no, that's an absolute. His track record has absolutely been faithful every single time. Every time, it's just an absolute. So how about we stop evaluating that one, revisiting it, and just say, no, maybe it's just my brain isn't big enough to see it right now. And just because my brain isn't big enough to see it, doesn't make it untrue. Kaylee, you had something?
I like that verse too, that's like God is not human, you know, like he doesn't promise things and then, you know, not fulfill it. He doesn't, you know, say something and lie about it. And like, I think I forget a lot, like God's not like me, you know, like he's not like us, like he's different, like he's a whole different class of that we can't even understand, you know, like that his faithfulness is just absolute. Like I can't even fully comprehend that, you know, like, and I like to, we were talking about like with the track record, like you'd think by now, you know, like that has a perfect track record, and I don't like it is literally zero for like being able to be in control of things and have a positive outcome, and like, and yet like when things come up, I like confidently, I'm like, I got this, you know, and it's like
Every time,
how stupid is that? And like you think I know by now, but no, I'm a fool. So
yeah, and sometimes we need an image, and I think that's what that scripture gives us is, I'm going to let you be my shield for now on. It gives us something to lock into and grab a hold of, where maybe, you know, just maybe like next week when you're in a pit and you're struggling and everything seems like it's a failure and it's just not going to work out, just maybe it'll come up in your mind. Didn't we talk about something on Saturday? There was something that helped me a little bit, and then maybe you'll go shield. Okay, I'm a Christian, and there was something about shield, and you'll get there. and then you'll put it up and start using it and not allow these things to mess with you as much as they have been. That's the goal here. Just being realistic. We're prone to wander and a forgetful people. So shield.
Why are you telling me shield?
It's there. Would you stop talking about it? All right, Lauren.
Okay, what this makes me think about is there's like two different times that happen that is in regards to this. Sometimes I literally worry myself sick and I end up really sad and having a bad day. And sometimes I just decide that even if I try to figure it all out, like you're saying, you can never get there anyways, and usually you're wrong. So it's like, okay.
Nor do we have all the information to get there most of the time.
Yeah, and I don't know. And so maybe if I just let go, like quicker, instead of like, you know, worrying myself sick, then like I'll have his joy and finish the day with that joy, and things go a lot better and simpler.
Yeah.
So, makes sense.
Anyone else? Barry?
I just like the whole concept of when you said give yourself over to faithfulness. That is really an easy word for us to remember because He is so faithful. That's what we just
Yeah.
talked about with
We
all
all
of
know
our
it.
examples. We've always lived it. When we look back over things, we say, yes, you have been like that. Thank you so much. But what I thought was particularly poignant in what you were talking about when you were, you know, cutting down the meat or whatever, you said that you prayed that Lord, forgive me for dividing from you. That is something that I need to get into my vocabulary, get into my consciousness, you know, because it is the dividing. The strong word is the dividing. And whenever I get into my head, whenever I get into what's going on in my head, which is just sometimes not good at all, you know, that is telling me that I'm, you know, I technically should know that I'm dividing, and that never comes up in my head. So that really struck me strong as another thing to really meditate on, to get into my way of being. So thanks. I thought it was good.
Good. Anyone else? Go for it.
Phil is always telling me, it's like, you know, what I should be doing is not trying to fix it and doing just the opposite. Is to spend, he says, you need to learn how to spend an hour a day just gazing at Jesus and looking for that strong tower, looking for that He's got a feast for you and you need to sit at the table. And, you know, you get
Another
up
powerful image.
and you go over and you look at the edge and Jesus is like, hey, Dana, your food's getting cold over here. So just sit over here. And it's been helping me to just literally just like, how do you do that? Like, how do you, for somebody like me, you got to fix it. You got to have a plan. You got to have all that stuff. And he's like, no, you don't. Jesus already has the plan. You just need to be quiet. If you're spending your whole hour saying, hey, can you fix this, Lord? Can you back my plan? Can you do this and you do this? He goes, you're still not there. You need to understand that He already has a plan for all that stuff, and can you just let go? And for an hour, get quiet. If your goal is just get quiet, you know, we talk about it all the time. Just get more of Jesus. Just get quiet. And, you know, he told me that he's like, Dan, you got 23 more hours that you're going to have to deal with the world. Give Him 1 hour where all you do is just think about Him.
Yeah.
And he goes, many times when I've, you know, had to talk about, have a conversation with somebody, he goes, the worst thing I can do is start getting in my head, well, I got to say this, or if they say that, then I got to say this. And he goes, just trusting in that, just getting quiet, and just, when I get there, can you just trust that He'll just give you that? And that's been just a very hard thing for me to do, is just to let go. But like I said, it's trusting Him and just saying He is that shield. He really is going to do that. He really is going to take care of all those things, and you don't have to figure this out. And it's to me, it looks like irresponsibility. It looks like all these things, but it's not. It's just the opposite. It's just like the Lord already knows what's going to happen. You know, He's not worried about it. Why are you? If He's not worried about it, and He's in control of all things, why are you worried about it? So easier said than done, but but that's what I've been really trying to do, and I like the images. That's why I like the shield. That's why I like Psalm 91. That's why I like those things, and just putting that in my mind. That's what I need to be doing with my hour, is not trying to fix it, is trying to remember the things that it says in Lamentations, Hebrews, 2 Timothy, Numbers, and going over it and over and over it.
And like 1,000 other scriptures.
Yeah. And by the time you do that, you just notice that all of a sudden those things aren't so filled with energy.
And pressing. And
They're not pressing anymore, and and it helps me to just do that. But yeah, it's again, it's easier said than done when that thing's looking you in the face.
yeah.
But yeah, so I like all this. I think, I've got to learn how to let go. The old saying, "Let go, let God," but it's true.
But truly, yeah.
It it really is. How do I let go of my issue and give it to Him, and know that He is faithful to just take care of it, and just be okay? Like the old one, how do you be carefree? Stop caring.
Yeah.
And when we can do that, it is a life of just a carefreeness. Like when you feel that, you want to remember that, and you always want to be in that place of peace. And so I don't think we can get this message too many times. So it's real good.
Yeah, yeah, it even made me think, I don't know what you said that triggered it, but made me think of that just the whole set of scriptures about the 24 elders in Revelation, where it's like they're just constantly falling on their faces, like casting their crowns before God just over and over and over and over, and it's like there's something they know.
Right.
There's a way that they're understanding God that is just driving them to their knees. Just seeing life in such a way where, like, the only important thing right now is to worship Him. To just fall down on your face before Him and just worship Him. And they're not God. They don't even have the full picture. Hence why they keep falling down on their faces and keep getting to that place over and over and over. It's like we're going to spend eternity and still not know the fullness of God. So you think, like, maybe in this earthly place we can just make an assumption that there's something we're not understanding? Like, maybe I just don't have the right perspective, because if I did, that's what we would do. I don't care what we're going through, what the circumstances. If you had the full perspective of His faithfulness and His goodness for His life, you wouldn't, in my case, keep trimming brisket. You would just fall on your face and probably just weep. So the fact that that's not happening shouldn't make me doubt that He's suddenly changed. It should just say, you know what? Maybe you just don't have the full picture. So how about we just lean in right now? And I don't need the full picture, because I just know it's true. There's something really powerful about that. Kaylee?
I don't know if you said this one or I missed it, but the verse that was coming to me was who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life, And
Yeah.
a hair to your head, yeah. And it's just like, and just also how Dana had said the word like irresponsible, and like I wanna flip the script in my own walk and like think like it's irresponsible of me to worry about this right now. Like it's irresponsible of me to not put that shield up and like let God be God, And I know I've wasted many hours of my life worrying. I've never added one, so
Yeah.
definitely.
Thousands and thousands of hours. Thousands. And maybe putting it in the 1,000 mark is modesty. Because, it's bad. We got a problem. Okay, anyone else before we close?
I love the context now of this scripture. I'm just going to read it again. This is the one out of 2 Timothy 2:13. If we are faithless, do not believe, and are untrue to Him, He remains true, faithful to His word and His righteous character, for He cannot deny Himself.
Yeah. He can't go against His own nature.
Right.
Yeah.
What is the address?
That's 2 Timothy 2:13.
That's an absolute more
Right.
than
Then
the absolutes of this world that we think
Exactly.
are trustworthy.
Really great
Yeah.
scripture.
Yeah. All right, any other last comments?
I think the verse that I've always held on to that I think is the end of Matthew 6 or whatever, 31, 33 or whatever, where he says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you.
Yeah,
So we're to look away from our issue and just put our face on him.
yeah,
And if we just seek him, he's like, if you cover this, I have all that.
yeah.
And just, trusting that he will take care of all
Yeah,
those
I
things.
don't need more information to lean into your faithfulness. I have enough. It's absolute. All right, why don't we close in prayer? Lord, I just want to start by saying we are so sorry for just the ways that we constantly divide from you. We allow the enemy to convince us to believe things about you that are horrible. Doubting your goodness, your faithfulness, your sovereignty, even your love. And yet you've never faltered. And you never will. Lord, forgive us for how we divide from you. How we trust so much in our own feelings. In the reality that we think our eyes see rather than trusting in a heavenly reality. I just pray that you would strengthen us. Thank you for these tools, this shield of your faithfulness that you've given us to protect us from the troubles of this world, and just ask that you bring more clarity and revelation as we go through our week. In Jesus' name, amen.